Welcome to the Simply Well podcast. I'm your host, Sadie Jane. And you know what? First of all, as a disclaimer, all the things, I have started a new season and I'm going to give you the best of the best maybe couple times a month. I can't commit to every Friday, but you know what? It's okay because that's how I have to start this.
I like that.
I have to start this because I started a new season and I love it, but I'm so busy with so many other things. So why I say that, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, is because I have such a special guest and such a special treat for you today.
Oh.
And so you know that if I'm going to launch an episode, it's going to be rich, full of decadence. And my sweet friend Abby is with us. And man, how do I even describe? So welcome, Abby.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh. This has been, how long have we been wanting to do this?
I mean,
too long.
I feel like since I launched the podcast, I was like, you have to come on.
Yeah. I'm just so happy. I'm happy to be here. We read what did we read before this?
Yeah, your astrology.
My astrology. And it was like, Abby's come to you with open doors and open windows. And I was like, wow. I'm here. I'm open. I'm here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about all the things.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we should touch definitely on this Pluto and Capricorn situation since you're an Aries sun and I am a Capricorn sun. And the Aries full moon is tomorrow. And we'll launch this on Friday, really. I think I'm going to rip this out really fast. So it'll work perfect for the timing of the energetics in the astrology. So
tell me exactly what that means.
Okay. We're going to do it. I was going to be like, tell me a little bit about you, but you know what?
What do you want to know? I mean, I'm Abby and
this is Abby. We're going to get into her story because she's got so many pieces of her. And I really want this to just flow into getting to know her while we discuss.
Okay,
I think that's going to be so fun.
I feel like I'm going to learn something new too.
Well,
about myself.
Amazing.
We're all learning.
We're all learning together. Because some interviews I love where I'm like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I love the story of the person, but I feel like that's going to just happen and weave.
Yeah, you're going to know exactly who I am by the end of this.
You know what I love about Abby?
We're going to be friends. You're going to come to my sanctuary.
Yeah.
And I will hold you in my womb.
Yeah.
Just like Sadie's
for the record,
holding me in her womb right now.
Yes. Yeah, I really hope that the people that are listening find a new big sister and a new place of reprieve for Abby, because I think more than, I'm trying to think, but I really feel like more than maybe anyone on the internet, truly, you are the most authentic.
Oh my gosh.
I have never seen you use a filter. I have never seen you re-record. You can tell you're not re-recording.
Right.
Like you can tell.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Abby is one of the most authentic, genuine, really, I feel like there's a lot of bravery in there, and we'll get into why I feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, just a really quick side note. She started kind of influencing because she got a bad haircut.
Yes.
Do you want to tell a little bit about that story?
Yeah. I was on my stories all the time, just like a regular old person.
Just like, so you were already like doing it. You just didn't have, just to people you knew.
Yeah. Just to my cousins and my friends
and
whatnot. And then I got a bad haircut and I posted about it and we all just laughed. And then the next day it like went viral and everyone's like freaking out about it. And it was in a story. Like, so it's weird because stories don't usually go viral, but my stories went viral.
Do you remember who first reached out and was like, this is funny? And then they said to this person, because I remember seeing it somewhere.
Yeah. So Anna, actually it's a really spiritual story. Do you want to?
Yes.
Do you want to?
We love spiritual moments.
Okay. So it was the summer of 2019. Look at us. Here we go. I know.
I have to because I can't see your face. So I'm gonna keep going.
Anyway, I was working with two different companies doing their marketing. And so I was like super into social media and just my own.
That's what you did anyway.
Yeah, I did it anyway. So anyway, I had 3 little kids and it was the summer and we got on a pretty they're really close together. And it was like, if I don't have some type of schedule, we're going to lose our minds. So every morning we'd wake up and we'd do a meditation. And it's so funny. So, okay, so let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So on Wednesday, I got a babysitter. I went and got my hair cut. And that's like when it all went down, and I filmed it, and it was so funny and it was crazy, but like nothing out of the ordinary, just like a regular day. So then we wake up on Thursday morning and we do our meditation, and we sit in a circle and we just feel gratitude. That's like how we start out. And then we ask Heavenly Father, like, what do you want me to know, feel, and do today? So we just kind of sat in a circle, and we'd always share at the end of the thing. And it was like, what do you want me to know? And my kids would be like, I know that I'm a child of God, or I know that I don't know, that I'm funny, or God wants me to know this. And that morning, and it's always just like one word answers usually. And I love this practice. It was so fun. I need to bring it back.
Beautiful.
Anyway, so I was like, Heavenly Father, what do you want me to know today? And he's like, I want you to know that you're going to go viral. And I was like, what the freak does that mean?
He literally said that.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
Okay, wait. Have you always been in tune to the spirit? Like,
Always.
Okay, so
totally.
I think people's intuition and guidance from their spirit guides or God or whoever you get answers from, I don't know if they're actually that this is what you're going to do, or maybe they're just not listening.
It's never in my life been so clear.
Okay.
Like never in my life. And I knew it was from God and not just from my own mind, because I never in my life would be like, you're going viral today.
Totally.
Like, I don't even know what that means.
But have you had moments like that before?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
childhood?
I've had a few. I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
So like I have very vivid visions and dreams. This is crazy that I'm just, here we go.
Yes.
No, I really do. And both good and bad.
Yeah.
Like it was scary because I grew up having night terrors, but then on the flip side, I'd have these like incredible dreams and visions. People come to me all the time in dreams and visions. Like it's just very fluid and open. And it's funny because like I don't read my scriptures very often, but I do pray all the time, and I do feel like a very spiritual being. So like anyway.
Yeah. I mean, just for some context for people that are listening, Abby is a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is why I have chills. I love that she's here because she's one of my dearest friends. And of course, you guys know that I've since left the religion, but I will always have the religion in my life. And we'll get into that. So the scripture part is funny. We can laugh about it, but I understand the context. However,
well, it's like, if you're not reading and saying your prayers exactly this way, then like, are you really spiritual?
Yeah. That was maybe the story.
Those are the only two ways we can be spiritual, right? So like, and my mom, I owe it all to my mom because she's very like open to everything. She's super, and always has been. She's her own little.
So you grew up in the church, but she was always like, be a fairy.
Oh yeah, be a fairy. We were doing energy work.
Amazing.
She took us to energy workers since I was a little girl.
That's amazing.
I mean,
I can't wait to meet her.
She's awesome.
You can always feel that from her.
You should have her on the podcast. Okay. She's on a mission right now. She gets back in November.
I can't wait to have her back.
She's incredible.
Amazing.
She's raised some pretty awesome children.
Yeah, you guys are all really special.
But I think another thing is like when I went to Utah State, I was like culture shocked into like, because people are like, oh, we hate Mormons, or like Mormons are just like this, or a Utah Mormon. And I was raised in Park City where like, I didn't know what that meant. And then I went to Utah State and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this religion?
Yeah.
It's just different. It's
like,
different.
What is this religion from the lens of people that are just bitter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and just like, no, like staunch Mormons. Like I didn't know, like,
okay.
Oh, wow. Like,
so Utah State wasn't liberal. It was more like,
no, I mean, I think it's the most liberal of them in Utah, but it was still so like conservative to me.
And you're like, oh wait, that's how you Mormon?
Yes. I was like, oh, that's how you are a Mormon? Like, even now, in like, as I watch people online, I'm like, ew.
Well, we're going to get into this.
That's not how I'm a Mormon, but whatever. Okay.
Well, that's what I love about, I just feel like there's room for everyone everywhere. And I really wish people could understand that. And I mean, I don't mean to jump into this right immediately, but I do think it's important to say like, I really feel like in my own experience, I was able to have a more peaceful letting go of the bitterness or maybe the rage of what potentially the patriarchy was or my conditioning,
Oh yeah.
because I gave myself space to be in both places, in and out, or in the church in my own way.
Yeah.
And I created that for myself.
Oh yeah.
So, and not, I think so many people feel like it's either in or out. And so
Yes.
when people leave, it is such a bitter,
Like I either have to
rageful.
be in, yeah, it's black and white. And I'm like,
And
nothing.
it's so not.
No.
And that's
Oh
one
my
of the
gosh.
things I want to talk about
Oh, it's so
today.
weird. I'm like, come on, guys.
I
Like,
know.
oh, there's so much truth everywhere. Like,
I know.
anyway.
And you get to pick up what you want to pick up. And so I love that perspective. You've always been open. Your mother's
Thank
been
you.
always open. And I really wanted to ask that because what a cool gift to have clarity of words. Like,
Oh yeah, it was so clear. So that morning I was like, wow, I'm gonna go viral. Like what?
and also let's talk about how that can't happen unless you make space for that. And
Right.
so that's a huge thing that I want to really like highlight is, especially as a mom of really young kids, and we started, I mean, that's really what social media was so great for us as young moms, is like we got to
Oh.
connect and not feel as alone,
Yeah.
even with, because that's how I started
I
too.
like didn't leave my house. So it was like my only
Totally.
escape. I'm
Like
oh,
SOS,
yeah.
are we together?
Are we here? Is anybody out there?
And it's like you making that dedicated practice is just so stunning. So God says you're going viral.
Yeah. So and it was like, oh, well, what do you want me to feel? I don't remember what he said about that.
Wow.
And then I was like, so what do you want me to do? And he was like, I want you to be a mom. Like I want you to make sure you put your kids
Have you shared
first.
this before?
I think so.
I
Maybe.
don't know. This is amazing.
know.
I've never heard this before.
But yeah, he was like, I want you to put your kids first and never forget that they're first.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. So then we end, and I look at my phone and it's like ding, 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 and it just goes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, because like in the moment, you're like,
That's cute.
okay.
That's cute.
That's fun. What is that? It's some subliminal thing. No,
Yeah.
this is like a literal thing. It's never, yeah. Anyway, so then I know that Simply Susie shared. So I think somebody shared it on theirs, and then she saw and she shared. Anna shared. Kids are the worst, she shared.
Of course.
And then there were hundreds of millions of people that saw that. And it was so fun and it's so crazy. And then that night I had 7,000 followers or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I was scared to get on again. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the freak? Like,
Yeah.
why are you following me?
Sure.
Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And it was like, just keep doing you. Just keep
Yeah.
being you. And
Yeah.
ever since then,
And you've
I've just kept
literally
being
never
me.
stopped.
and
Yeah.
I haven't stopped. And I didn't know people followed people they didn't know.
Right. Isn't
And
that
then
an
I
interesting
didn't know
phenomenon?
what an influencer was. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And then even to this day, I'm like, I'm just going to keep being me. And that's the hard thing. Like, I don't think there's a rhyme or reason. Like people are like, well, what's your niche? Or like, what are you all about? And I'm like, I'm just me. I'm just real.
Well, that's how I feel.
It's like,
you
I'm
are.
just lifestyle. I cook, like I do all
Yeah.
the things. And so it's hard to, I've tried to label it. So again, the last 5 years, it's like, okay, so how do I monetize? What's my niche?
Who's your
What's
avatar?
What do you write down for
Sure.
your profile? Like, and I've always tried to put myself in a box, and it's like, it just doesn't work.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm just me, just living my best life.
Well, and
Anyway,
that's
me. That's all.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Done.
that's
Podcast
it.
is over. No, it's so interesting because that's why I had to start with this authenticity piece, because I mean, we just want to put a dollar sign on everything and we want to make everything worth it, which I understand from the masculine marketing side, but also like you have proven time and time again. First of all, 5 years is not a very long time, and you
No.
have an incredibly large following. It just goes to show, Abby, and everyone listening, that your authenticity is your medicine. That is the sacred frequency. So I talk about this a lot as far as like our sonar, our unique frequency. And if we're hiding behind masks and filters and even avatars or trying to niche ourselves down, people can't really understand like who we are, especially if our face is what we're putting out in the world.
Yeah.
And I do love so much that you have continued to always just be you. And actually, it's so interesting because when I first found the video, and it was probably through Anna, the thing that I loved most about it is your genuine laugh.
Oh,
Yeah. And you could just tell you had this really beautiful joy.
that's
It
so
was
nice.
almost like this like uninhibited, like not innocent, but just really um a vibrant, what's the word? Maybe innocent joy, but in
Oh,
a childlike way, not like you haven't been through the ringer to get there. But it brought me, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but it brought me 2019 was really hard for me and a lot of people, 2022 as well. I mean, really, since COVID, we've
yeah,
all just been through it.
we've just all been through it.
But to see you be so proud of being you and to the point where was absolutely no filter and absolutely, I mean, I can tell you so many times, time and time again, where I saw you just be so uniquely you. And what's funny is I don't even think you realize just how powerful that is because you're just being you.
You're so sweet.
I know I keep saying you're just being you over and over again, but I think it's really like, Simply Wild, that's the podcast name. And it's all about coming back to the wild within us. And you've been able to continue to grow into who you are and be surrounded by the people that you are without having to put masks on.
Right.
And I just think that's so special. And I want to know, how have you, because I know actually it's been really interesting, even just this last year with your hearing loss and a lot of things that you've been going through. You've talked about how you've been struggling
Yeah.
mentally, and you grow. We all grow and evolve. And I think maybe some people put that label of you of like, you're the funny
Yeah.
one. But you're so multifaceted too.
Oh, I know. So I always tell Shelly works with me. She's my best friend and she works with me. And I'm like, I'm not a clown. Like, I think people follow me because they laugh and it's fun and everything. And I'm like, this last year, I'm kind of boring. Like, I'm boring and I'm changing. And like, when people are like, I hope you never change. And I'm like, oh, I hope I change so much. Like, I want to change. I want to become better. And I think that this last year has just been, it's so funny because it's just like one thing after another, like huge thing, not little things, like losing my hair. So I had sudden hearing loss where you just wake up one day and 60% of my hearing was gone and you can't get it back. It's just gone. It's like so random. Then building a home is a huge feat financially, mentally, physically, emotionally. My parents left on a mission and I live right next door to them and they're my huge support. I love them so much. My best friend and sister went on a mission. So 3 of my like closest people are gone. Our apartment lit on fire. So we had to live in a hotel. I'm training for a marathon. That's
Huge.
like, why did I decide to do that?
All these things.
I started an herbal tea company. I'm like, why am I doing all this to myself? But like, just so many things came about this year. And it's like, I am just like, I dance in my robe in my kitchen all the time. At least I used to. And I haven't done that in a long time. And I'm like, I'm boring. Like, I don't want to dance. And I think that was kind of like the marker of like, I don't want to dance.
Yeah,
And
that
it
was like the sign.
Yeah, that was a sign. I'm like, why don't I want to dance anymore? And so I got on my stories and I'm like, I am so sorry that I'm not maybe who you expect me to be or who you want me to be right now. But like, this is just who I am right now. I've been through the ringer and you're growing with me. We're learning together. And it was so lovely to hear everybody just be like, we love it. Like, we came for Carol, because she's my pseudonym. When I got the haircut, I was like, I look like a 75-year-old grandma named Carol. So we always like, people are like, we came for Carol, but we stay for Abby, because they love to see, because everybody's been there.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's been there where they don't want to dance. Did you have a DM
saying, you're not funny anymore?
No. I just felt
felt that.
I just felt like, oh, and I think we always do that. Like, I'm not entertaining enough. 100%. I'm not this enough. I'm not, and who you think I should be. I think it's funny because people in my DMs, everybody follows me for something different. It's so weird. And that's, again, why I can't niche down, because people are like, oh, I love watching you cook in your kitchen. I love seeing your kids. I love watching you dance. I love getting your book reviews. I don't know, whatever I'm doing. And it's hard because I think people are here for different things. But one thing that has always been constant is me laughing and me being funny and me dancing in the kitchen. And this year I haven't done that a lot. And so I'm like, I'm so sorry that I feel like I'm letting you down. And it was so nice to be like, no, if you were to push that, we
That
could
would be
tell.
disingenuous. Yeah.
Yeah, like we could tell. And if you were to fake that, we could tell. And we don't want that. We want the real you. And it was like, thank you. Okay,
You know, it's
I'll
interesting
just keep
because
being me. Just keep
truly,
going.
and when you were going through all those things, because I was watching, I was with you, I was supporting as much as I could, but even just to smile through those things, and like the times you would get on and just be like, I have hope, I have hope. Like in a lot of ways, that was like what we needed from you. It was like laughing Abby, but it was like hope Abby, and just the smile and you're the cute way that you just are so genuine with your eyes and just like, hi. And it's just such a reprieve from a place of having to be something all the time. And in a lot of ways, I feel like, I mean, of course we know this. If we are on the internet and we are in our unique frequency and we're trying to make a better place for the world, the best thing we can do is be authentic in whatever it is that we're going through, because it's not just about the highlight reels.
Oh, I know. I find that like when I do share the failures, failing publicly is terrifying, but it is like so liberating because everybody's like, oh, like it's okay to fail. We've failed too. You're okay. We've got you. Like we're still here.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying the first couple times because you're like, everyone's going to leave and nobody likes me and I did something wrong.
Yeah.
But more people resonate with that. Like they want to see the failure. They want to see the ugly and the bad and the sad. And like there are accounts that only show that, and then it's exhausting and heavy and you're like, okay, like we need a reprieve from that. But I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last year is to just truly stay authentic and stay real and I've just let everything go and just been like, okay, like I'm on a journey and I'm allowing people to share this with me. And this is it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because with this quote unquote success, with growth, with the new home, I think that we just get this false idea that we're searching for a point, a destination that we will just find peace and happiness and play, but life will continue to life. It will always have the ups and downs. And so to have such a juxtaposition of this beautiful new home with your French doors that you shipped over and all these things, and this setting here in Lawson, and I feel like it's just humaning. And so many times, especially in like a spiritual community or the religious community, we want to understand, we want to say like, why me? I'm doing all these things correct. And sometimes it's just part of the path.
Oh, yeah.
And have you found peace in that with your hearing loss?
Yeah. And it came at such an interesting time. It's allowed me to hear louder. It's allowed me to listen much more keenly. It's allowed me to be more quiet. And I love that.
So tell me the opposite. Tell me how you weren't that before, because
I don't think I think I was, that's a good question.
You maybe didn't know what you didn't know.
I didn't know what I didn't know.
Which happens all the time to us.
And having this hearing loss, it came at such an interesting time because I was flying to New York for the biggest job I've ever had. And I was going to New York for 3 weeks to film this huge thing. And it happened. And it was like, I still have to, like, the show must go on. I got to go film and I got to go do these things. And I was on a time crunch. In order to get my hearing back, you have to go into like hyperbaric oxygen therapy chambers and you have to like get these shots. And anyway, it was just like, it was such a random time. And I think about it often. I'm so grateful that it happened when it did because I was so busy that I couldn't really mourn the loss. And then I go to this really busy city, New York, and it is so loud and I cannot hear anything. And I'm just like,
Interesting.
what is happening? And it made me just really come into my own. And it really made me like, it made me listen to myself and it made me listen to God a lot more closely. It made me rely on God way more.
Mm-hmm.
It made me like when I'm having conversations with people, I'm a very good communicator
Mm-hmm.
and I am very good at just talking to anyone, getting anyone to open up and,
Mm-hmm.
and I talk not listening. Like I already know the answer before they say what they're going to say, right? Because I don't know if that's an ADHD thing or what, but I'm not
It's more of
listening
like
to listen. I'm not listening. I'm just talking, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking at someone
Sure.
instead of actually listening to what they're saying and asking me. And this completely made me like, look at them, look at their lips, listen to what they were saying,
Mm.
and then decide how I was going to respond. And it was like, oh,
Everything just slowed down.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I count it as a miracle. Like it's a huge blessing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with as a mom on the internet,
Yeah.
having to show up ABCDE like every day. Even just the world we live in is just so fast paced. And you came up here while you were doing treatments and we did a really beautiful hypnotherapy session.
Yeah. And a lot came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell me how it feels. Have you had a tie of your hearing loss with like past trauma, or have you noticed that that has tied to anything?
I think it is tied to past trauma and not listening to myself.
Mm.
I think that I don't know how to say this. I feel like I am a people pleaser and I want to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to please my parents. I've always wanted to please others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm letting go of that more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
But I always want others to feel comfortable around me and happy around me. And instead of listening to me and turning inward and upward, it was always like, how can I please others?
Mm.
And I think that this last year, and it's funny because on TikTok, it's talking about like the cardinal signs ending their karmic cycle or whatever. I'm like, that is me. I need it to end.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the journey has been, hey, like, let's just calm down and let's start listening to really what's deep inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And let's listen to Abby. Let's listen to little Abby. Let's listen to future Abby. And let's just be still for a minute. And it's been really good because I think that speaking and that talking and that communicating and that people pleasing is because of past trauma for sure.
Sure. So have you been able to start saying no more?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm still learning. And it's more, for me, it's more about saying yes to the best things instead of no to the good things.
Yeah.
Because there's not many things that are like terrible. Like,
Yeah.
you want to do this? No.
Yeah.
But when it's like, do you want to do this or that? And it's like, oh, they're both good options. Which one do I pick?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's about
learning
that
to
slowing
say,
down.
It's not learning about saying no to the things that are easy to say no to. It's
Yeah.
about saying no to the things that are hard to say no to.
Yeah. Because you want to support or please or.
Yeah.
So have you, with that same question as a follow-up, have you been able to bravely choose yourself more? Or have you always been that way where you can choose yourself?
I think I do choose myself a lot. I'm learning to do it more. It's funny because I didn't know what mom guilt was like until like a couple of years ago. And I'm like, oh, why would anyone ever feel guilty for not playing with their kids? Or like, why would you feel guilty about that? And I'm like, whoa, people feel guilty about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking me questions I've never been asked before. No, I think I do choose myself a lot. And I think my mom taught us that of like, hey, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. But I also feel like that people pleaser side of it too was like, yeah, but you can fill your cup at the end of the day when I think okay, this is the truth. I think having my kids in school all day has been glorious.
Yeah.
I think it's given me the space and time to have selfish time for myself.
Which is so needed. You know what, Abby? One thing that this brings up to me is I just love the authenticity. It makes me emotional thinking about it because even you being like, summer sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Summer sucks. And yet you're cooking really beautiful home cooked meals for your kids and they love you and you love them and you're a reprieve from the really awful, scary world for them. And yet you let them go out into the wild to public school. And I just think that you being that for them and you doing what you can, and it's like there's no room for disingenuity because you're willing to just like share all of it, and then people are like, oh, that's okay, it's okay, and it's okay to choose myself, and it's okay. Have you talked about the connection of your hearing online to
No.
past people pleasing and stuff?
No.
Yeah, I was just curious because that's a super vulnerable show. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a hard, it was kind of bold of me to ask because it's hard with dis-ease in our body because of course, ultimately all of it is energy, but a lot of it is also like, I don't necessarily believe, especially as somebody who guides people into healing or for themselves, they get to be their own healers, but teaching them to do that. I think so many people want to tie it to this and this and this, but it doesn't have to all just be that. It can just be that there is a malfunction.
Yeah.
But I also feel like the hearing piece is so symbolic.
Oh, it's so symbolic.
How could you not be like, what was I not hearing?
Oh, totally.
Totally. And I find that so beautiful that that you can find. I also feel like that reclamation of sovereignty, meaning like, how can I be accountable for whatever it was, puts your hearing back online.
I know.
And
I listened more carefully. Like, even though the hearing has not come back.
Did it come back a percentage or not at all?
Maybe like 5%, but not much.
Okay. So tell me and the listeners what you have in each ear.
So it's interesting because I lost some hearing earlier when I was probably in my teens in my left ear. So I'm at 80% on my left ear. I can hear 80%. And on my right ear, I can only hear like 40%. And they think, I think another thing is like, they're like, hearing is just so volatile. Like, it can go, when you get older, it can go kind of like your eyesight. Like if you go to concerts, if you go to things, like even when you're mowing your lawn, you should be wearing protection for your ears. And I'm like, okay, who does that? But it's so sensitive. Like, I'm learning a lot about my ears. But I truly like, and when it did happen, it was like, wow, what am I not hearing? I mean, as soon as I dove into that, it was like, oh, here are all the blessings that are coming because of this trial. And I truly get to listen to and hear what I want. I'm very particular about what I listen to now. I'm very particular about what I choose to consume through hearing, and knowing that one day it might all be gone, probably sooner than later. Listening to things that if you were to never hear again, what would you listen to? Yeah, right. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I want to listen to symphonies. Totally. I want to listen to the birds outside. Yeah. I want to listen to the ocean. I want to hear my kids laughing. I want to hear, right? And it's funny because there's nothing quite like losing one of your senses to just bring you back to reality of like, this is out of my control. I absolutely cannot control what's happening. All I can control is my reaction.
And
so,
the present moment of what we have now.
What do we have right now?
Yeah.
And tomorrow's not promised. So like, what can we do right now in the trajectory of my life? Like that may or may not come. And it was very, I think that the lesson, and I'm still learning things of like, just letting go. I mean, this has been the year of just letting go and just having faith that I am taken care of and that I'm held.
Shedding. Yeah.
And knowing that like come what may, you'll get through it. And there's a purpose.
Sure. How do you go every day? How do you go? You kind of already answered this, but how do you go every day knowing that eventually, I mean, none of us are getting out of here alive, right?
Right.
But it does.
This morning, Helen, my daughter, was like, all of us are going to die. And I was like, wow.
Yes.
Wow, Helen. I was like, it's true. We are all going to die. That was my morning thought with Helen.
I love the quote that says, I'm not afraid of death because I've already died. Oh. And it's so true. Like when we live and when we really live and experience and go through the death of our ego, of who we think we are, of what we think we know, as you know.
Yeah.
Do you find that is it hard not to spiral? Like what happens if I wake up tomorrow? Or do you not go there? And
I have. I'm not kidding when I say I have nothing left to like, you can't, there's not much more you can take from me at this point in my life. I feel very stripped. I feel very vulnerable. I feel very like in this very just how
surrender.
do I explain this place? I feel it like I'm in this very humbled state that's just like I only have control of so much. And honestly, I don't want any control because
sure,
who knows what's going to happen with that. And so I just feel like, and I think we all go through that. Like, is this what a midlife crisis is? I don't know. I don't know. But you're just kind of, you're just when you strip and strip and strip and then keep stripping, this is what's left. And it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm raw. And now we went to Wyoming last weekend and we turned off our phones. We had no electronics. So it was just us in the middle of the ranch house up in Wyoming, no distractions. And it was honestly, I was like, can I move here?
Yeah.
Can I just live in this whimsical world? And Ammon was like, why don't we just take this home? Like, what's stopping us from living this life in our own home? And it was like,
nothing.
Oh, not, well, I mean, my job.
Absolutely like, nothing. We are living in bliss for forever.
Right. But, and it's funny because it's like, oh, it's not where you are. It's a state of mind. And it's been so hard. It has been so hard.
The hearing,
building a home has taken every penny, right?
Sure.
Of
course.
Having my husband and I switch gender roles, so hard. So hard having him be the stay-at-home parent and me be the breadwinner.
Can we talk? Okay. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
I have chills all over my body.
Like,
can we talk about the pressure?
Oh, it's funny because I feel like Ammon knows all about the stay-at-home mom in America, in middle America, who is just doing the laundry, surviving.
And how mundane it is.
Oh, no gratitude, no thanks.
And the hardest job.
It's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And he is just like, why do people do that?
No, literally.
Like, what is this hell? It's just the mundane day after day after. And I'm just like, honey, I'm so sorry.
And people want to maybe demonize or diminish the fact that now we get to connect socially. Can you imagine having the kind of social media? I mean, of course there's a polarity, but what a gift that moms don't have to feel alone anymore.
Oh my gosh. It saved me.
Totally. Once I finally, but I didn't actually get on Instagram until 13 when my second son was born, and I was already deep in postpartum depression. I was working full-time as a nurse, nights, 200, 300 kids in my primary. I was primary president.
No.
And I know. And I just was like, oh, there's a world where women are struggling just like me.
Oh,
you know? And it just feels so wonderful to know, like, I don't know how to fix it, right? But I do know that you and I both believe that mothers deserve to choose themselves, right?
Oh, it's necessary.
It has to be.
It's necessary. And the guilt? Why does the guilt come with it? I don't know.
I really feel like
I've never felt guilt for that. And I didn't realize
tell me
people
about your
do.
mother. Tell me about how you witnessed your mother care for herself.
I think she gave it all. No, I think she gave it all. I do think she had children. So she had my oldest brother when she was 20, and she had my youngest sister at 45. So she's been a mom for a very long time.
Wow.
So Sophie left the house 2 years ago.
She's young. She's a babes. And your mom's a babe.
My mom is a babe.
How?
Like, we're talking a lot about my mom. I love it.
I know. She must be a Jenner in human design, which you don't know what that is, but my readers do.
I don't know.
So, and we're going to go into your human design. Anyway, keep going about her.
She is insane. And so she's been a mom forever. So I think her being a mom, she's been a mom for what? 24 plus 18. It's a lot of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's been a mom for 40 years. With children in her home.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's gone through all these stages of motherhood. And I was the middle child. So when I was 18 is when she had Sophie. So I was graduating high school, and I had two older siblings, and she was starting over. And so watching her be a parent to me, and then watching her be a parent to Sophie and my other sister, Emily, she parented us much differently.
Yeah.
And watching her be an older mom has taught me, like she knew.
Yeah.
She was like, this is how I'm going to do it this go around. And it was like, no, I'm going to get babysitters. I'm going to have dad watch her. I'm going to go.
And she did that with her younger kids?
No.
Okay. So she was
I think she was just like a normal mom with us and just trying her best. She makes things really special. So I think what she did is she really put stock into her family. She doesn't have a lot of friends because she chooses not to. But her fun, kind of like her thing, was decorating the house and really making a house a home. Traditions. She always made things really special, and that was fun for her. And then it was fun for us too, to watch her do that. Or like she would go on, my mom and dad always went on trips together. And that was just,
that's
when
like
people
a
are like,
self-care moment.
Always. And it's funny because I would go on and they're like, well, why aren't you bringing your kids? Or I did not know that people did not leave their kids.
That's a perfect example of mom guilt.
I did not know that. Like, what?
I know.
Why not?
I know. That's what I wanted to get at, is these ideas, these subtle things. So they're not big to you because that's what you witnessed your whole childhood.
They grew up and it was like, oh, of course mom and dad are going on a trip. Like,
but there are mothers out there that don't leave their children because they feel bad.
Don't.
And
but I didn't know it was because they felt bad. Is it because they feel bad for leaving them, or is it?
Yes. What else would it be? I mean, there's obviously a multifacet, but they feel bad. They feel guilty. They feel judged. And they also
Who are judging these people?
Their families, their mothers, their grandmothers.
It's crazy. I did not know that people lived like that.
So what's interesting, and why I keep referring to your mother, is because our patterns in our life are very patterned by obviously our childhood, because we're so malleable, right? We don't have a prefrontal cortex. And that's why it's so, you can see me tying back your open spirituality to your mother. Beautiful.
Oh, totally.
Right. And now you're like, I don't have as much mom guilt, but mostly it's because even something so simple for you as she always traveled with dad, people don't do that. No. Moms, even just the freedom that she felt like that was okay was huge. I mean, I got reprimanded for being a nurse from my mother-in-law very early on because I wasn't always stay at home. There's just so many nuances.
Right.
And I really feel like we are generationally over more and more as we advance in this spiritual experience, human experience. We are opening ourselves more up to the idea of what motherhood actually is. and doesn't have to be chains all the time. And ultimately, it's up to us. And I really feel like, of course, I'm going to refer to your mom so I can see your patterns.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like you said, what can you control? At the end of the day, who's making you feel the mom guilt? You are the
Exactly.
only carrier of your life.
The second it came in, I was like, oh, this is what mom guilt feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to choose not to feel that. Like,
that's a no for me.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That can go somewhere else. So switching roles with Ammon was really hard. And I think my kids are like, well, why do you have to go on a trip? Like, I travel for work. That's just a part of the job. And it's like, well, because this is my job. And I think or like when we go on a date, it's like, well, me and dad are going on a date. Well, don't go, like, be with us. And it's like, hey, do you want me and dad to have a happy marriage? And I think when the kids are older, explaining to them like, hey, this is time that's really special for building our family. Even though you're not a part of it, me and dad need to connect. We need to make love. We need to be alone. We need to do these. And now my kids are like, oh, mom, it's Saturday morning. Mom and dad are making love. We can't bug them.
Sexy time. I love that you call it making love. That's so cute.
Oh, yeah. Or like, we're going on a trip so that we can reconnect. And it's like, oh, good. We want you guys to be happy. Because if you got divorced or if you weren't together anymore, that'd be really hard. And it's like, yeah.
I think our children are so much more intelligent than we give credit.
Well, and then instead of them complaining and whining and being sad, it's like, oh, I'm so happy for you that you get that.
Yeah.
With dad.
I mean, because I would always travel for work. And then I'd be like, well, I can't ever travel for play because that's double the time being gone.
Oh.
And that's when the mom guilt started setting in for me.
Yeah.
And when I say my kids were intelligent, all kids are more intelligent than we realize. It was like, all I needed to do was explain, this is business. And now I get to go and fill my cup.
Yeah.
And they really understand that. Like just the power of words and explanation and clearly explaining. So you're the oldest. Sorry, this is a tangent. You're the oldest?
No, I'm middle.
Middle. Okay.
Middle.
Okay.
I know. I love that.
I just was wondering about the age and the kids and the mom. And I just love hearing about how people grew up because it just shows so beautifully how you're able to shine. But also with the shadow of people pleasing, of not being heard because you're the middle child, of, all those beautiful things that are no one's fault. Everyone's doing the best they can.
Everyone's doing the best they can.
Midlife crisis I love actually because it really strips away all of what we thought we believed because we have been. And when I say conditioned, I don't necessarily mean in a bad way. We just have been conditioned because we were raised that way.
Yeah.
And it makes us say, what really do we believe ourselves?
So do you study philosophy at all? Have you ever studied philosophy?
Yeah, a little bit.
So Descartes, do you know him?
No, tell me.
So I took epistemology in college, which is the study of like knowledge.
Love.
Right. So like,
where'd you go? BYU?
I went to Utah State.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, every philosopher has dabbled in epistemology. And it's funny because Descartes, he takes everything away, right? This is pretty much what we're talking about right now. It's like he takes all these blocks from the house away and takes it down to the foundation. And it's like, what's the famous one? I am, well, like, I think, therefore I am, right? So like all these philosophers depict like the study of knowing and the study of knowledge and the study of what do you actually know and what is truth and what is not truth and what is right and what is like, anyway, I took a lot of philosophy classes, but Descartes, he takes everything away, and all of these philosophers do, and they tear everything down and then they start fresh and they start building one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to, I think, therefore I am. And that, and even you can pick that apart. But it's so interesting because I keep thinking this last year, I'm like Descartes, where everything has just been stripped away. And now I'm at this base layer of like, okay, now we're here. How are we going to rebuild this house? How are we going to rebuild the foundation? How are we going to rebuild the structure? Right. And then on top of that, what are we building? And on
Right.
top of that, and then how do I help my children
Yeah.
build their foundation? Because
Yeah.
throughout all of our lives, we will all be like Descartes, where we go, it may not be all the way to the bottom of the barrel, but for some people it is. And I think midlife crises are that time when we do tear it all down and rebuild.
Well, I was going to ask you, would you have, if you hadn't had your hearing loss, would you have had the opportunity to rip it all down?
Probably.
Eventually,
There's
in a couple years.
There's a lot of other things that happen too. I
or
think
even just in general,
loss,
like the things that have happened in your life this year.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think I think definitely circumstances helped exacerbate that,
right.
for sure. And I've always been super open-minded. I've never been like,
yeah,
oh, this is, I was going to say, this is gospel truth. For some things I do, but for a lot of things.
But I think that's a good way to say it, because I think that there are obviously a lot of people that feel that way.
Yeah. And I think, like going to Utah State, like I said, it was like culture shock of like, holy cow.
Or even just living in Utah in general.
We were taught the same religion. Like,
right.
You do not seem
right.
like normal.
Yeah. Well, you show that in so many different ways. Like, for example, recently the magnesium pen.
Oh yeah.
It
was a melatonin pen.
Oh, melatonin.
I know.
I'm like, both of those. Great. Did people go crazy? Are they so weirded out?
It's funny because I feel like a lot of people.
So it was a vape pen, just for you.
Yeah, I was vaping melatonin before bed. It was a new product I was trying out, and I was like, "This is amazing. I've never vaped anything in my life, but may as well try it." And I think that's a part of me just showing up, like, "Wow, this is a new product, and I get to try it.
I love
if it works, like
you do that with countless things.
Yeah,
with the kava pills, with your tea,
all of it.
Yeah,
and so it was just like another thing for me. I didn't expect anyone to freak out, but a lot of people were laughing with me, like, what the freak are you doing vaping in your bed at night as a 38-year-old woman? A lot of nurses and doctors were like, that is so bad for your lungs. Like, do not do that. But not many people judged me, which I love. I feel like I've created a space.
Yeah. At this point, it's like.
Yeah. At this point, people are like, there's Abby again. She's going crazy. She's getting her butt tattooed on the shores of Mexico. Like, just
Did you?
living her life. Oh, yeah. Just not a real tattoo, but the henna tattoos on the.
I forgot. I missed that part, I think.
Anyway, it's just like, I think people follow me maybe because like, you never know what you're going to get. People are like, oh, did you plan that? Like, I've never planned one story in my life.
Yeah.
Never once.
I mean, I just bring up that because, and this actually goes into something that I really want to talk to you about, because I think it's so important and I think it's really unique. And I think that you're the person that really brings that, is you bridge open mind thinking for so many people, inside and outside the church. And it really is so special because of your bravery of, first of all, I really think it stems from the knowing that your relationship with God is yours and yours alone. And you know that what you choose is right. Even the curiosity of vaping a melatonin pen.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when you're explaining their teas, guys, listen, everyone needs to calm down. And we're going to get to your teas in a second. But what I really wanted to talk about is just and acknowledge for you and recognize is that you know that. Yeah. And because you know that, you don't focus on nuances, and you just trust your own knowing. And I can't imagine the power that you've been able to give to everyone that follows you because of that.
That's nice.
Yeah, I
hope they take that power.
I think that they have no other choice. If they're going to continue to follow you, you continually do it over and over again. And you do it from a place of not like, F this, or this was taught to me, so there's no bitterness. It's just like, this is me. This is what I choose to do today. It's going to be different tomorrow. And that can be such a beautiful gift for people inside and outside the church. Because what I see so much is that people have a really hard time holding space for other people's truths.
Yeah.
And because you're so good at allowing yourself to explore your truth And of course you study philosophy. Of course you studied the concept of knowing, of thinking, of questioning, and that being I am.
For sure.
Because the term enlightenment is literally always questioning, right? It
Right.
literally means
Right.
that. So I say all that to cue up a question. How do you feel? This is my first question. How do you feel the climate of the church, of women within the church and outside of the church is in Utah?
It's funny because there's a lot of active, like super active, staunch Mormons that follow me that would never swear or, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of ex-Mormons that follow me. There's a lot of non-Mormons that follow me. We got the pot, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I love that non-Mormons or ex-Mormons follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that and when I do share something spiritual about me, they're the ones that are like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love you. I'm so glad that you felt comfortable to share that, even though I'm atheist or I'm Jewish, whatever.
Do you get ex-Mormons that feel triggered by when you share the church?
Not often.
Okay.
Not often at all. In fact, I think I'm a very safe space for ex-Mormons because it's like, I don't think it's black and white. And I think a lot of ex-Mormons still believe a lot of things or want to take a lot of the good things with them.
Yeah.
And then they feel like they can't because it's all or nothing. And it's like, okay.
In terms of truth, your truth is going to be different than mine.
Yeah.
Right. I really feel like the division comes when we just are all trying to be right.
Right.
And if we're all just trying to be right, there's literally no space. But I can feel this. So that's in terms of your community. But I'm curious if you feel the same. There's just this thing in the air. And I do think it's shifting, but it's just this unsaid energy of, oh my gosh, I just want my truth to be so right because that's what I hold on to. And if I'm not holding space for if I can't hold space for other people's truths, or if
then my truth is wrong.
Correct.
Right.
Do you feel that in the air a little bit?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people dabbling in other things.
Yeah.
And they want to.
Yeah.
But they're letting all of it go.
Sure.
They're literally ripping down the whole house. Again, going back to Descartes, like you've got to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess you get to pick how you unpack it. You can just throw everything out the window, or you can slowly unpack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, I don't think anyone has shown a really good way of unpacking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people who are unpacking or who are continually working on their rebuild of their house.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's modeling that very well. I don't think that I think it's the black or white, like, hey, I don't agree with wearing garments anymore, so I'm just going to take them off.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm just going to throw it away, which I think is fine. But also I do think that you don't just have to throw everything away.
Well,
to restart.
And I actually really agree with you. And I've not talked about this publicly before because it's just been something that my deconstruction of who I've become in that sense has been very, very private. And when I very first launched this podcast, I literally said, I'm not going to talk about religion just in general because there's so many pieces that people have no idea. Public, sacred, private pieces with my family, with my own relationship. And so, the way that I was deconstructing had to be private because I didn't feel like I was going to be accountable enough to do it in a way that would have been constructive online.
Who can? Because you don't know what's going to happen when you start tearing walls down.
And of course you're bitter. Of course you're raging. Of course there's sadness. Of course there's frustration. And, there's a place for that.
Yeah.
But I do see that when all that comes down and then, the dust settles, then they're like, wait, where? And I don't necessarily think I know it doesn't have to be in a religion, but I also believe it's like, but where is it? Is it even in
Yeah,
here?
where is it?
Is it even in here? Right. And one thing I'm so grateful for, and I think that this really ties into what we're talking about as far as authenticity and even love, and really intention, is that I just always knew that if I did it with love and I could separate the cord of the bitterness, that I could rebuild my foundation with accountability and integrity.
Yeah.
And because I did that, and I did it privately, so now I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I marry navigating this, and the way that I have found to teach that is through my spiritual teachings in general. And so rather than me saying, I'm going to help you reconstruct after deconstruction, I literally just say, let me help you empower you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think showing it, I never talk about body positivity. Rarely.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
just show it, right?
Sure.
And I think for you, watching you, I'm
That's
like,
exactly
wow,
right.
beautiful. Like,
Right.
Sadie, you're teaching things that are unsaid, right? Like, you're
Sure.
teaching. When I watch you, I'm like, oh, she's found so much peace. She's found things that she wants and things that she doesn't want.
Mhm.
And it's been beautiful. And I don't think I mean, I want you to do what you want, but you don't need to technically teach people. You can teach them
Well, I
by
think that's,
showing.
well, that's what I'm saying is when you say, and I agree with you to an extent where you're like, not a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it modeled very well.
But is it that it's not modeled well? Is it that we don't think it's modeled well because it's not
The
said?
way we want it.
Or yeah,
maybe.
Sure. Or it's not said. And is it within just living your authenticity, that is the modeling?
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling is that the division happens when people say this and this and put a label on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like bitterness on both sides because everyone wants to be right.
Right. Exactly.
Rather than just the unsaid of living in your own life and knowing that is connected to God in your own way.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm excited, honestly. Like, I feel like we're in a time that is very interesting. I think a lot of people are questioning a lot of things. And I think it's almost trendy.
It's Aquarius.
It's almost
age
trendy.
Of Aquarius.
I know. I'm like, it's kind of trendy to like.
Yeah. And it's being forced.
Oh, it's being
the
forced.
stars.
It is.
Yes.
I think that it's being forced. And it's honestly beautiful to see the shift and how people
Sure.
and I do believe that we have a whole life to live. Mm-hmm. And where you are right now is like where you were 10 years ago, and where you're going to be in 20 years could be completely different. Mm-hmm. You could be the Relief Society president in 20 years, Sadie. Mm-hmm. Like
of my own church. Because I don't know if you heard, but I am the Utah Woo cult leader.
Oh, are you?
Did you not hear that?
No.
Oh, yeah. An ex-Mormon was so rude and went on TikTok and said I was a Utah Woo cult leader.
Oh.
I kind of saw it as a flex, but I kind of was like, that's mean.
That is kind of a flex, though.
It is kind of. But I was
like,
I also don't want to be a cult leader. Anyway, yes.
You don't want to be a cult leader?
I don't. I want people to find their own. But it's just funny because even the spiritual world, people are just like labeling things, and they're so mad that women are communing. And I'm just like, can people just relax? So I bring up
like, where is your journey going to take you?
100%.
You could be,
and people want to die on the hill that they're on right now.
Oh,
and I'm like, everybody needs to just calm down. And that's why I talk about the only reason I'm bringing up in this podcast the X versus and I hate that word, the Mormon versus the non,
right,
is because it's you and me. But but there's more than, I say this to my sister all the time. We believe the same things, just in our own different way. And ultimately, everything is light. If we can't hold space for that, then what are we even doing here?
I literally don't know.
I know.
And it's funny too, because even politics, I think at the bottom line, every single person wants the same thing. It's just a different way of getting there.
Yeah.
It's the same with religion. It's the same with education. Like,
yeah,
I feel the shift happening, especially in Utah. I'm really excited for people to. I just wish more people would allow more light in.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's happening, Abby, is that they're just so bitter. People are just mad.
Yeah.
They're sad. They're, oh my gosh, I'm emotional. They have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. They're so mad that things were either taken from them or that they're being told something or that they live in this state. I mean, I'm just going to keep focusing on Utah for a moment.
We're magnified.
And you know what? They just, because of that, there are cords that are being drawn to the things that are causing their bitterness. And that is literally sucking their energy. And I'm not just talking about people that left the church. I'm talking about everyone.
No, I know.
Everyone has created attachments to their beliefs, attachments to their family beliefs, their parents, the judgments of the world.
Yeah.
We have to detach and step into our accountability, because what else is there for us to do at this point with the world right now?
No, you have to be solid with yourself. You have
There's
to
just
narrow
nowhere
it
to
down
go.
and figure it out.
There's nowhere to go but you, but here, but
Yeah,
there, right here in our soul.
Inward. I always say inward and upward.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look inward and upward, and you can no longer base anything off of anyone else's belief or what you want people to think of you or how you are perceived.
Right.
And it's hard. So I went through a huge faith transition in 2015. And so I went through like, is it called a faith transition? I don't know.
Or maybe like a
faith crisis.
I like that. Yes. Or a deconstruction, because even if you deconstruct and stay in a religion, it's all just about deconstructing what you thought you knew or what were you told, so that you can really understand what you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went through this. I feel like it's trendy to do it now.
I love
people that haven't gone through it are being forced to go through it now.
Truly.
And so I'm grateful that I went through that, not on the internet either. I wasn't even a part of the internet then.
I will tell you, it's hard.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing that online.
That's
why it's not modeled well, because it's messy and nasty and exhausting. Oh, it takes everything, and it's.
Yeah. I mean, it was from 2008 to now is when I've been online. And people have been really awful and sad and mean, but I really am so proud of myself for not ever getting online and screaming hatred things about something that built me.
Yeah, it's good.
And
good job.
And I really it was really powerful for me. Yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to keep talking about that, but apparently it needs to come through. I'm very
proud of you.
But
it is not an easy thing. Have you talked about it?
No.
At all?
No, I just like I talked about with you, I just really feel like people will know where I'm at with how I live my life. Yeah. I want to focus on that, Abby.
And don't you think God is happy with you?
Of course.
Like,
oh my God. I have more of a relationship with God and Jesus now than ever before. I love that people have their podcasts. I love that people are doing it in their way, but for me, and maybe I leave this life and I'm like, well, I did it the wrong way. But for me, I just had to do it that way. I had to do it in my own private way,
and
evolving.
You're not even close to the finish line. Yeah. Sadie. None of us are.
I say that all just because, why did I say that? I don't even know.
Because other people are in your position too. And I think that.
Oh, we were talking about our your faith deconstruction.
Yeah, the construction.
Yeah. And it's just interesting, the concept of changing anything at all online, because people get really mad.
Oh, pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
Which I want to ask you about.
Well, do you want to talk about your deconstruction?
Well, yeah. Okay. So pretty much I had this deconstruction. I was like, Amen. And he's like, I'm not going on this journey with you, because I know I'll fall away if I do. Like, I just can't. And so I got to a point where it was like, what do you want? Like, what? You can go this way or this way. Which way are you choosing? And it was like, okay. And I chose to stay. I chose to keep the faith and keep being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I got to a point where I was like, well, if this is all a lie and this is all bullshit, at least
Sure.
my kids are going to be raised with some morals and
Yeah.
have a community and all that. I mean, I think we all get to that point. And as I've grown and as I've continued down my journey, my faith and my assurity and my testimony have strengthened more and more and more and more and more until I'm where I'm feel more solid now than I ever have.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like my convictions are true and I'm leaning in and I'm 100%. Maybe not 100, but I'm 98%.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I can't accept all these other things too.
Mm-hmm.
I can still bring in herbal tea.
Mm-hmm.
I can still bring in crystals. I can still bring in meditation. I can still bring in wholeness. Like there's so many things
Astrology
that God has
and
given us
hypnotherapy. Yeah.
that we're not taught in Sunday school, but that
Yeah.
are surrounding us. That's like, oh, I feel great when my feet are in this dirt
Mm-hmm.
and I'm praying this way, or I'm in the moon, or I'm like, there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deny the fact that there is so much more that needs to be revealed. I believe that there is so much more progression, so much more. And I think as we come to learn these things, we'll be like, oh,
yeah,
we were all right.
Yeah.
We were all right. It was just different times.
Yeah. And what about the shadow of people? It's so funny because I even see this in the spiritual community where they like, well, no, that's bad.
Oh, it's crazy. I'm like, okay.
No, it's witchcraft, Abby.
It's weird. Not many people do, which I'm really grateful for me. I think my community knows me well enough that's like, maybe that's woo woo to me, but I'm going to let Abby have that. I'm happy for her.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I did a guided meditation of like our highest self. And I talked about the gods within us. And I always thought it was like, I always thought it'd be hard to like teach. And I was still very active at the time. I thought it would be hard to teach meditation to Mormons. I was so attacked by other evangelicals about the idea that there were more than one God.
Yeah.
And then people are like, well, yoga's evil. And at the end of the day, you're going to get everybody saying everything about, if you haven't looked at one viral post and gone into the caption section or the comment section and seen the vile, awful polaric energy that's just literally drawing our energy out of us, literal energy harvesting, then you will soon. And you'll see the polarity of the world. It's just getting more and more.
Yeah. It's nuts.
So what do? We have to just anchor into who we are. And
I want to hear about, so we both live public lives, obviously. And I feel like you were Simply Sadie J. Like, what were you before? You've always
been Simply Sadie J.
Okay, yeah. And so you kind of went through, my sister-in-law, my ex-sister-in-law, like adores you. She loves you so much. I love her too. Like we all love her. But she was like, oh my gosh, Sadie's amazing. And so that's when I like really started and I met you at Jolly's. Remember? I was introduced to you.
It was
through
with Anna and Jason, right?
And Jason, yes.
And then we had Thai food up here.
Then we had Thai food.
And we were friends forever.
And I feel like I met you like right before or maybe during that time in your life where you were transitioning. And I always am like, wow, you did like a full 180 of like, this is who I was and this is me as an influencer in my family and blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, and now I'm doing this. And it was like, whoa, she just totally, it was like the first time I'd ever seen anybody like fully pivot. I'd never seen that before. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And how was that? And did you lose followers? I'm sure you lost followers. And I'm sure you gained
40,000 followers.
You lost 40,000 followers.
It didn't feel like such a pivot to me, but I love that that was your perspective because I do think that that was the perspective of a lot of people.
Yeah, it felt like a pivot.
I mean, I think it was such a slow, for me, it was like a slow turn, but I think once I decided fully, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. So it really started with when I found self-love with myself, when I really found to me, what I learned for me was that I was my own healer, and it saved my life. That's what's been so interesting about, I've been really mindful about what I share online because of my family.
Right.
And I don't ever, and really even just communities in general, which what we talked about with different truths, I am who I am, and I believe in what I believe in now because it saved my life, you know? And I had to do that in private for a while to really like anchor that into myself. And then I could not share it. I
Right.
was like, if there are people that need this, I pray that I can give this to everyone anywhere,
Right.
right? Regardless of religion. So I went 180 from fitness, body dysmorphic, obsessed, addicted to Adderall, Sadie.
Yes.
Totally no therapy, all masks, one of 14 kids, you know, a brother that took his life. I mean, just trauma from a childhood, thinking that being skinny, that was my 180 for sure. I like 180'd into self-love, Sadie.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh,
wow.
now she's got tattoos, and now she's has Kapal, and now she's praying to Mother Earth, and now she's, you know, like,
Yeah.
it just, because I'm a very intense person, as you know. And I really have just loved the mystery of life.
Yeah.
I didn't study a philosophy. I studied nursing. I was having babies at 20 and delivering babies as the charge nurse at night at 20 years old. Like, I grew up fast.
You did.
You know?
Wow.
And
I'm
so,
over here studying philosophy at 23.
yeah. And you like traveled the world,
Yeah.
and I did have some travel, but it just never hit me until it hit me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't talk about fitness being the hidden gem anymore, because it wasn't.
It wasn't. It's not.
I was like, you guys,
sorry
don't
to all
get
the
it.
fitness folks. We love you. We love you.
It's part of it. It's
It is.
definitely
It's
part
definitely
of it.
part.
And that's a whole nother podcast of me coming back to my physical body after being so in like the 5D spiritual realm.
Living in your crown chakra.
I've literally been floating for a few years, because there's balance in everything. And ultimately, obviously, we're supposed to be here marrying heaven and earth together. But yeah, it was interesting because I started showing my stretch marks. It was like before stretch marks were cool, right?
Right.
And people were just like, how? It was before self-love was cool. Like, how? And I was like, I can't just like share it in a post. I have to create this whole course, this 90-day thing about chakras and energy within yourself and meditation. Like, do you guys know, like, it's just a single point of concentration. And it was like I don't mean to be blasphemous. It was like I was Joseph Smith and I found the plates in a way.
Yeah.
And I had found my own revelation. And I was like, if I can just help one woman not feel the way I feel with postpartum depression and breastfeeding her babies and doing everything right and still feeling the emptiness, I have to do that. And I'll tell you what, Abby, it has been the hardest, most terrifying, most lonely journey.
I cannot imagine.
As you know,
yeah,
I have not lost my hearing, but it was almost as if, I've never said this publicly before. It was almost as if I would have rather passed than felt the lack of love I was afraid of feeling by standing for my truth and leaving. I have a very, very, very strict, staunch family. And you know, in a lot of ways, I still love so much of the principle, and I still watch conference and I go to church sometimes, but I cannot say that I'm just not tied to anything. I'm just tied to me and God.
Right.
And that's just me now.
And I wish that there was a more holistic approach to that religion. And I cannot wait for Jesus to come again. I believe Jesus is coming.
Totally.
And when he comes again, I think he's going to be like, listen to Sadie. I'm not kidding. I think he's going to be like, you guys, look around. There is a higher law here.
Yeah.
There is an earth. There is energy. There is
of
love.
course.
Like all the, you know what I mean? And I think what you're saying needs to be taught. And I think that your mission, you were called to this, and I'm
For
so
sure.
I'm proud of you. And I cannot imagine how lonely and how many haters, like I cannot imagine going
it's been
through that
interesting.
publicly and
Sure.
watching that.
Do you have a Reddit
that's-
thread about you?
Oh, I'm sure I have a Reddit.
Yeah.
Yes. I've never actually been on Reddit
Me
because I
neither.
might actually die if
I
I
would
do.
me neither. And
But I hear things.
even
I'm like,
even just
okay.
transitioning from even just you saying, I am a Mormon and I'm going to have an herbal tea company. Most people that are out of the church or that have never been in that think it's fine, right?
Right.
But of course, there had to be some clarity because of the warm drink word of wisdom situation. This isn't even a podcast about me, but what I thank you for inviting me to share that, because ultimately all I'm saying about all of this and with your journey, and that's why I wanted you to be on the podcast so much, is because there is a new way. There is a different way. There are so many different ways to live in truth. There are so many different ways. And although my way was very painful and private, I want to hold space for the women that need that, right?
Yeah.
I think sacred rage is extremely important.
Yes.
And I think that it's, like I said, so many different avenues are perfect. But like, I love that both you and I have tried to find a way of our own unique path and authenticity while also holding staunch to our truths, while also evolving in our truths.
Totally.
And I really feel like that is the way.
I do too.
Yeah. And I just love to hear that that's kind of how you've always been, huh?
Yeah. I feel very grateful. I think my spirit has always been that way, but I think my mom and my dad both taught me. I feel very blessed to have been raised by two people that are very authentic, forgiving, open-minded.
So tell me,
You know,
how do you teach that to people, Abby?
I do not know. I honestly think by example. I don't know how to show, like, other than showing it and just being forgiving and non-judgmental. I don't know how to teach that. I don't know how to be like, hey, like, you can let that go. Hey, you can like live a different way if you want. I don't
What
know.
if people don't want to let it go because they're afraid that they won't be loved or they're not worthy?
Everyone is scared.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody is scared to let that go because in our minds that's protecting us. It's it's scary to let something go because that's sheltering us or that's, but when we really look at it, it's like, hey, like, what is that doing for you?
Yeah.
It's not doing anything for you.
I mean, it's just the simple thing of victimhood versus accountability.
What is it? It's a judgment.
Okay, but so tell me when someone comes at you with a different belief, how do you hold space for it?
When people come at me with a different belief, if they're coming in anger, I just point out the anger. So I just say, hey, like, there's something going on that's deeper here. What's going on in your heart? Because you don't want to talk about what you're asking me. You're hurting, and this is a cry for help. So let's like dig into that, right? If somebody's coming in love, like, hey, like, this is something I believe and you believe something different. It's beautiful. It's like, oh,
it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. It's
you
just
can
a conversation.
It's literally just witnessing. I love that for you.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And seeing the truth in that. I would say most people that come at me for a difference of belief is because of anger or fear or judgment. It has nothing to do with the actual belief itself.
Sure.
It's like, wait.
Well, it's ultimately just like the fear that if you believe what you believe and I believe, how is it mine? Just like we said before.
Right. And I think people are trying to save, like, I think a lot of Christians, it's like, hey, if you don't believe in God, like, you are damned. And so I do think that there's this like, hey, like, I really do want to help you and save you and like show you a better way. But then they haven't opened their heart enough to say, oh, but they're there are other ways. Like there are other ways of feeling God's love other than this. Or, hey, I believe in Jesus Christ, but this way. Or this is, and I think that the bottom line is a lot of people look at heaven like a pyramid, like at the very top, a few people are going to heaven and everyone else is going straight to hell. When in reality, it's like a V. I think God wants all of his children to return back to him. I think that many, 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 many people will be living with him. And I think he's designed this earth for that to happen. I think he wants his children to find joy and live in peace, and has given us so many things to do that. And we forget, or we're not taught, that there are other ways.
Yeah, I love that so much, Abby, because it's interesting, like this idea of being lost. And ultimately, some people will believe that, but that is not my business.
Right.
How do I believe I will be saved by myself with my relationship with God and the universe? And so I can still see and honor every truth that you believe in. And how cool is it that you can be a part of a church that maybe some people say that, but then you ultimately say, well, I don't subscribe. And this is what I believe in a different way.
Well, and I just want to like clarify and depict some things, because it may sound like, oh, I don't believe. Like there are definitely things that I'm like,
oh, yes,
I believe.
Yes, for sure.
I definitely believe that the priesthood has been restored to the earth, and that power, you need to be baptized and you need to be sealed in order, for things. But like, let's just talk about the Sabbath day, like keeping the Sabbath day holy. Like, what does that mean
to you?
What does that mean?
Sure.
To anyone? Like, what does that actually mean? Does that mean, that could mean a lot of things. Growing up, it was like, you can't boat, you can't go grocery shopping, you can't do this and this and this. And then a whole list of things have come up, and it's like, whoa. Let's take a step back. The commandment is keep the Sabbath day holy. So what does that mean to you and your family? And how are you going to grow closer to God in that day? Or the law of chastity. Like, what does that mean? And like, you can study that and dive deep, and there's certain things. But I think like a big one would be like using a vibrator while having sex. I think a lot of women are scared to bring toys into the bedroom because nothing's ever been said, or it's taboo or something. And it's like, in what commandment does it say I can't use a dildo? Like, do you know what or like, let's get into these commandments a little bit, and like, let's just kind of tear everything that's been said about them. Let's tear those away and kind of like,
and that's the rebuilding that you're doing.
That's the rebuilding. And I don't think, and I think that's where you should start, instead of just throwing it out the window and being like, well, I don't believe any of this. Because I think a lot of people are, and it's like, well, it's black and white. It's this or that. And then there's no space for them to keep the Sabbath day holy. And it's like, well, then what's their ritual? Like I feel like you've done it so well, Sadie, where it's like, my ritual is before the podcast, we're going to cleanse the room. We're going to say a prayer. We're going to do my thing. And that is what is bringing me peace, joy, and closer to God. It's like, that was beautiful. I believe it. I felt close to God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Stop talking.
No, I think it's beautiful. And I love that there is that piece, because of course there's foundational principles. That's why you're there. You wouldn't be there if you didn't believe in the foundational principles.
Yeah.
But there is a space for
more.
I hate the word. Can I say the word nuanced? I hate the word nuanced.
Say it.
But I think that there's space for it. And I think that it bothers a lot of people. And genuinely, I don't understand why you doing Sabbath day differently is different. And I just, like I said, it's from both sides. People just want to point fingers because they're so afraid of being wrong. They want to be saved. We want to be with Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, God, Goddess again. Like
all of us want it.
We want it. And so if we can really just settle into knowing, one, that it'll happen with our own beautiful divine knowing, with integrity and accountability, and knowing that that looks so different for everyone else. And also knowing like we are not each other's keepers. And so we can just be ourselves and just say, I mean, it's just
our
enough.
job is not to judge, it's to love. Yeah.
And I love saying like,
Love.
don't listen to the words that are outside of your own home, because you're not sleeping with that person and they're not making your money. So why would you care? You know?
I like that.
Although there's a little bit of a juxtaposition because I do make money from people outside of my home, but
no, I love it. Sadie, I'm glad that you're opening up to me about this, because I think it's necessary. I think everything you're doing is necessary. And I think a lot of women have followed your path, and a lot of people have felt the same things as you. And it's hard because, again, like, who's the model? Who's showing? I mean, I think you are showing in your life. But yeah, it can look totally different. And I think there's space between you and me, even. We're so different. But I think there's even, it's a scale, not a, you know. Anyway.
Sure. Yeah. I think it was beautiful when I had you on, just because I loved you. And then I got a clear message from God saying like, you have to talk about religion with her. And I don't feel like I've just felt like it would come with the time that it did. And I'm glad that it took the time that it did, because it's not my whole brand, but my brand is empowering women.
Yeah.
And I don't think I necessarily relate to the religious woman anymore. And that's okay. It's not necessarily about that. It's about me helping you understand what it means to be you uniquely. And I do think that you just do that so beautifully within the church. And I think there just needs to be more of that, because it doesn't matter what people do. And it is sad. I've seen that so much. I relate with you in that, where it's sad to me how staunch people get, whether it's like, nope, I am abiding by everything because it's just keeping me safe and that's it, or I'm throwing everything away. Yeah. But ultimately, what a gift that we know that people will find reprieve here and in the next life.
Yeah.
And they get to be in their own journeys.
And it's not bad to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's not bad to make a mistake. It's necessary. Make some mistakes. Guess what? It's okay.
It's good.
We're meant to.
It's part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
We're meant to make mistakes. We're meant to do the wrong things. We're meant to explore. We're meant to question. That's another thing. I'm like, questioning is the best thing that you could do. Like, do it.
Yeah. It's so
everything, whether you're in a religion or not, question it. Question your behaviors. Question all of it. And that's that's the whole message of every philosopher, is like, you have to question everything in order to rebuild. Like, anyway,
to reach enlightenment is literally
next time we're doing an epistemology class.
Okay, done.
I'm glad you're talking about religion with me, because I'm guessing that most of the people that did follow you want to know, like, what sparked that journey, and are you still bitter, and how do you feel about women who do stay?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've just really tried to be super authentic to myself, and that has been really confusing to people when I'm in Burning Man and I'm wearing what I'm wearing. And I think that ultimately just even me being authentic in my own self is really charging for people. And even though I'm not saying the words of like, oh, I left or whatever. And I did it mostly very privately. The idea of bitterness and mostly it was, I don't know if it was bitterness in the sense of like, it's been so long since I've been there. I've been bitter. So I have to like go back and think about where I was bitter. I think mostly I was bitter about the idea that this love would be non-conditional or conditional. Thank you. With my family. That made me sad. Like, it made me sad that I was finding things that were saving my life outside of it, and that I had found peace for that, and that somebody really close to me could potentially say, but that's wrong. That's, I think, that's why I did it so privately. But it's been in a journey of exploration, I think, really my whole life. I've always just kind of like been, I always saw spirits. I was always hearing things. But like I would write notes to God in the pews of the church and keep them underneath the pew thinking that he would get them.
Oh.
I would say prayers for hours falling asleep at night, hoping, please God, look, show yourself to me. Please show yourself to me. And then I'd fall asleep like with that. I've always been very, very, very spiritual. And so when I really untangled the trauma of who I am and what I am and what helps me stay alive, ultimately it was the idea that it was just me and God.
Yeah.
That's it for me. And for that untangling, there were so many pieces because ultimately for me, I had to untangle the idea that I needed something else or outside of myself or this idea of sin or unworthiness. And I needed to untangle that. And so when I untangled that, I found meditation and yoga. I found things that connected with me. And that's why I share what I do for women. And I think that you can absolutely have that in religion. And I have a huge community of women that really believe in everything. And ultimately, I just want them to come back to themselves. And I know it was hard for some people when maybe I was wearing less clothes or I'd get more tattoos or, what was interesting. I lost a lot of followers when I came out about my dad being gay.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's just so many pieces to my story that I've just tried to be really mindful and sacred, but also share because I think it's important. Like there's so many pieces as to why I am how I am because of literally conception, And it's interesting, this Reddit piece, because there's so many women on there. The number one theme is she's so weird now. Like she's changed. And it's true. I was the Mormon mommy blogger, fitness blogger. And now I am this person who is so uniquely happy. And it's interesting. I saw someone recently. Oh my gosh, it was my old nanny. Sorry, this is a tangent.
I love it.
My old nanny, she used to live with me not live with me. She helped me in Sugar House. Because I don't really have family close and I needed help. And anyway, she came and watched my kids just for a weekend, literally like a month ago. And she came in and she goes, oh, what? You look younger now than you did before. And I really feel like I am aging backwards in the way that I do feel so uniquely myself. But Abby, it's because I'm accountable for my life.
Yeah. I love it.
It's because I've always been deeply spiritual and I connect with Jesus in my own way. I do not believe anymore that he is my savior, but he is my guide and shaman and brother. And he's such a great example of how I can be my own savior. And I know that you believe he's your savior. And so does everybody that is close to me. And I love that because in a lot of ways, even just me thinking that he's my brother is a savior thing.
Yeah.
It's like he's shown me he is my savior in the way that he can show me how to be my own savior. What a gift. I would never know that if I didn't have Jesus, Yeshua, as a guide.
Yeah.
And it makes me a little sad, that I've lost a little bit of that Mormon community. And also it feels so freeing. I just started this new membership called Sisterhood, Simply Sisterhood. And it's like I do a forecasting and astrology forecast call at the beginning of every month. And then we have a huge community in the back end with like a challenge and a theme. And then we do, I have like my app, all my videos, meditation workouts. And then I have a private Instagram. And it has been so freeing. I didn't realize how scared I was to just be, even though I'm so unique, you followed me forever. It's been so beautiful to just not be worried about people making fun or being confused or projecting their own bitterness on me being so confident in who I am.
Right.
Because I do think
that's totally just a safe, you don't have to like guard yourself.
Yeah.
You can just be free to speak.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the one shadow of changing completely overnight.
Yeah.
It's essentially.
Yeah.
Is that people are confused. Yeah. You have always been you.
Yeah.
But I have been on the internet for over 13 years.
Yeah.
And so I am a completely different person, and that is really hard for people.
Oh. And
Yeah.
it's funny when people tell me like, don't ever change who you are. And I'm like, I hope I change.
Yeah.
I
Of
hope I
course.
change.
Yeah.
Please let me get better. Let me
Yeah.
change. Let me.
But it's so beautiful because I love my people. I love you. I love people that have their own beliefs. I love that we can be that for each other. I
I
love that.
wanted to ask about that because if I wanted to become a part of anything that you do, are you anti anything? Are you welcoming of everyone? I mean, I think it's like, I think people are scared to like jump into something new because it's like, well, how is that? How am I going to be perceived? So, as an active LDS member, can I come?
Sure.
Is there a place for me at your table?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I know there's always a place for me at your table, but like
I know
in
what you're
these little
saying.
groups
Yeah,
and in these retreats that you host and all, you know what I mean? I'm curious.
I get that question a lot.
Do you?
Because people will come to, so Medicina is a grandmother ayahuasca ceremony retreat.
Yeah.
And I have active LDS women that come. They've asked their bishops, they've asked their stake presidents. They say, can I come and use this alternative medicine? And they say yes. And yes, absolutely. Anybody. And one thing that, but one thing I do teach is the sovereignty of you.
Healing yourself.
Yeah. And that can be fit and molded into your own reality.
Totally.
It goes very much back to you talking about seeing, it just brings you back to accountability, Abby, because you seeing what your story was with your ears and you saying, oh, I can listen deeper. Oh, I can not people please as much. And I really appreciate your vulnerability in that. I don't want to weaponize that vulnerability, but I want to use as an example of like, that's an example of coming back to knowing that you can heal yourself.
Yeah.
So when I ever ask or call on a blessing, I call on God, universe. I'm always very open about, and I have some people that like will do my meditations and they're like, I don't like that you use the word God. And I'm like, that's okay.
That's okay.
Because maybe my God's a woman. Like no one knows.
Nobody knows.
But the word God and using that beautiful, powerful word is so powerful. And I don't think I'll ever lose that. I hope I don't.
Yeah.
So there's different places for everyone at my table for sure. And I hope that ultimately, because that's the thing that was really triggering about the cult situation is because
people on Reddit saying that you're a cult leader.
There's this TikTok. It's not a big deal. I talked about it on a different episode. And she didn't know who I was and has never taken any of my courses or been in my containers. But the shadow that upset me was I pride myself on being a space for people to honor their unique frequency. But for them, for that to be the case, they also have to honor mine. And that's going to be triggering because I am definitely live in a unique place.
Mm-hmm.
I have shamanic feathers on the back of my wall from a native who I paid and I supported and all these things. And I really think that and just like you, Abby, just like everybody's allowed to be at your table, the more we are authentic and trust our unique truths, the more we can open up our table for others.
Yes.
And that's really what we're doing.
I want them. Like, it's funny because I feel like when people do come to me, it's so kind.
Yeah.
I have an awesome community.
Yeah.
Whether they're whatever
I really don't get a lot of hate
in,
either.
Yeah. It's
I really don't. I mean, I definitely did in the transition.
Yeah.
But not in front of my face.
Right.
People were just like, what the hell?
What is happening? Right.
But yeah, I think it's the authenticity and that's why I love you. And I wanted you on here and just to talk about that because it's a piece that I think needs to be talked about more.
It does.
And from a place of accountability and peace. And I just, I think it was my sister that said it's been trendy to leave the church. And that breaks my heart a little bit because I do think that it's the deconstruction of systems, foundations, societies. It's happening now. I
need you to tell me about it.
Yeah, it's the age of Aquarius. So we have moved in. Literally, that's where we're at now.
Okay. Well, so what does it mean? I need to know. So are we okay? Like talking?
Yes. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I need to pick my kids up at some point in time. 3.
we need to finish so that I can give you a human design and astrology reading because I
Yeah,
really
that's
want
what
to
I
do
want.
that.
I
Okay.
want to do it.
Okay, wait, let's maybe wrap this up. I'll end
Okay.
here.
I feel like you needed to speak more.
I know.
I should have a podcast. I'm just kidding. No, I'm happy to come and interview you anytime.
Oh my gosh.
No, really. I'm serious because I think it's important for you to say some of the things. Like, yeah, I'm
Well,
happy you felt like you could talk to me about that too.
well, ultimately what I am speaking about is not necessarily, of course, we always get some reprieve from speaking, but it's,
Right.
I really wanted for my community a place for them to be able to speak with somebody who's still in the religion, because I do have a lot of bitter people in my community and I want to be able to continue to help them
Yeah.
mend relationships.
And to those people, I would say it's okay to be bitter, but don't let that rob you forever.
Mm-hmm.
Take the lessons that you learned. Just like my hearing, it sucks so bad and I was bitter and it's so hard. But look at the lessons that you have learned. Let the bitterness go, forgive. take the good practices that you've learned and be grateful for those, because is this the life you want to live? It's so hard.
Yeah.
I was there. I was so bitter. I was so angry. I felt tricked. I felt abandoned. I just felt hoodwinked, you know?
Totally.
And it's like, oh, it's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be angry and mad and frustrated and confused, but also don't hold on to it I guess you can hold on to it for as long as you want, but don't let
But it's taking away from your life.
It's taking away from your life.
It is.
And now you can move on.
Please.
Now you can move on.
Yeah.
And you don't have to force anyone else to do your agenda either. I think that's another hard thing is like, I don't think you're going to convince any Mormon to leave because of your resentment. If anything, it's going to make them stay even harder, right?
Well, and no Mormon's going to convince somebody who's trying to find their own path.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
So any Mormons that are listening, any active members that are, you're not, unless you're coming with a lot of love and listening ears
from both sides.
You just,
can we just right now get over the fact that we're just trying to do anything to anyone other than ourselves?
Yeah.
Right.
Can we just turn around and look at ourselves
no
and
more
be like,
convincing anybody to do anything.
Right. Let's not convince. Let's just hold space for everybody else and then forgive ourselves, move on and let it
connect
go.
to God.
Yes.
Take the energy and just.
But don't let that bitterness hold you.
I agree.
It's enough.
I so agree.
It's enough. You need to let it go.
Yep.
And if you need help letting it go, you can still give that to God. You can still give that to Jesus. You can still give
it to the earth.
Alchemize
it somewhere. Yeah. Cut the cords. That's why it was so hard for me to be like, am I bitter? Was I bitter? Because all of it is a lesson. I'm so grateful for the church.
And you're like, wait, why was I bitter? I forget. I know.
Because none of it.
I remember feeling that.
I would take none of it back, Abby. I would take none of it back.
Right.
And I hope that, this has been, I know it's been inspiring. I really appreciate you coming and taking the time, because I really really value your authenticity. I value your open mind and your beautiful, beautiful heart.
I love you.
And I just wanted my community to feel that. I think it's extremely important.
I love you. I'm grateful for the conversation. I'm grateful that we can talk about it. I'm happy. Like, I get it.
I mean, I thought it'd be more fun to talk about this in the tub, but that didn't happen.
I know. Why weren't we in the tub?
It's too small. I'll show you up there.
Okay. We'll take a picture in the tub.
And then we got to hold them, and then it would have made it much more fun, but
no, we'll take a picture in the tub. I'm glad. I think we got to some deep places. I'm glad that you opened up. We all wanted to hear.
I knew I would.
Oh, good.
I knew I would. It was going to be impossible when Spirit and God were like, you need to talk about the juxtaposition of different truths.
Yeah.
I think it was important to be like, well, yes, hello. Cause I don't know if I've really publicly said, of course people assume that I have stepped away, but I don't want that to be my identity. It's not what I identify
No,
with. So
no.
that's why I've been very careful about not talking about religion at all. I think that that keeps me in accountability. But it's beautiful to say, yeah, it was painful and difficult and hard, and also the best thing that could have happened in my life because I have my relationship with God and friends like you that are always, and family,
Yeah.
and really quickly, the most important part, what Abby is bringing to her community is just as such. I really feel like this is why I see this in you, because what I see in you is in me. And I really try to bring authenticity and accountability to my community. And I really feel like you do that to your community too. And one of those things is being willing to shake or ruffle feathers of things that you don't think are bad, that maybe some people have this weird story of.
Right.
And one of those things is herbal tea. You guys, when I tell you, I've never been so impressed
Oh my gosh.
with this beautiful tea. It's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's an incredible business. You just started last year. This year? You're going to be at
We
Pinners.
did it. We're going to be at Pinners next week. I'm nervous for that, but it'll be great.
It's going to be great.
It's funny because even my sister was like, what are you doing? Like, you're starting a tea company? Like,
So
are
random.
you even? And I'm like, okay. Like, come on. It's herbal tea. Yes, it's Word of Wisdom approved, but it's also like so good for you. I hope to teach people the benefits of tea. Like, there's so many benefits of
So you got a lot of
ingesting the earth.
confused.
Oh, so many confused. Even still to this day, people are so confused. And I'm like,
how that it could be in both places. Like
yeah,
how
and
it
I'm
could
like,
be. Yeah.
tea is so, I mean, every culture from Argentina drinking latte to the Middle East with their chai to the UK drinking their
Black tea.
black tea every day. I mean, it's just every country in the world. It's the 4 billion people drink tea every day. And I feel like when what is it called? The Boston Tea Party happened.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of took tea out of the United States.
Oh, is
It was
that
a
what
rebellion?
happened?
Yeah, it was kind of a rebellion in that now future generations can't enjoy
Well,
it
and
as
even
much.
just the word of wisdom in general. I know that I
Yeah.
definitely had this thing growing up, like I can't even have any hot drinks.
Oh yeah.
So I really appreciate,
crazy.
because these herbs, I wish you guys could see these jars. I'll be posting about it, but it's just all from God.
Yeah,
It's the herbs from Mother Earth.
So good.
And we've literally been given everything in this earth soil to just extract and heal us. It's right in front of our faces. And it doesn't have to alter our sense of state in the sense that the word of wisdom is trying to get us not to do.
Right.
But it can benefit us and help us be healthy and slow down.
As you drink it, you're just filled with just, you're ingesting goodness. It's so good. And it's a ritual, right?
So tell me what inspired you to do this really quick.
So I always wanted to sell something and make my own product. I just didn't know what it was. And then as soon as I was like, duh, it's tea. And I think that came at the right time. It was last year around this time, maybe in the summer. I just knew, it marked every box for me. And I've lived all over the world, and I've experienced tea in many different cultures and places. And in Ukraine, that's all we drank every single day. And, it was just it's more than just ingesting good things. It's something to do to bring people together or to bring you closer to yourself. And so it is a practice, and it is a time. I hope that you can take time to have a minute of peace. And so I'm hoping to sell not just tea, but like a ritual that you really can do every day to help calm yourself down. Take a break, take a minute to like reevaluate and reassess. Because so many people do it, and it's such a beautiful practice. And so I want more people to enjoy that in the middle of the day, at the 4 o'clock slump or at the 12 o'clock hour. Like, just go put on the kettle and
So beautiful.
Whether you're at
Abby.
work or you're at home and the kids, I mean,
so beautiful.
Let's just practice
ingesting really healthy, clean things.
Yeah.
The kids too. Did you know that it was going to be a brave thing for you to start a tea company?
No.
Do you feel like that now?
Yeah. Because people are up in arms and I'm like, okay.
But you've been staunch and like steady in the knowing that you know it's not bad and you get to educate them and open minds.
It's been beautiful. People are like, oh my gosh, I can drink this? And I'm like,
yes.
Oh, honey.
I know.
Welcome to
beautiful.
A better way of living.
And now you get to be Oprah at Pinners. We're going to teach you a shielding practice.
We got to get a shielding practice going.
And it's going to be beautiful. And you really are. What a bridge. What a bridge from a bridge, not even a bridge, a marrier of religion and ritual, which is ultimately religion anyway, but religion and self-ritual.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really beautiful.
Oh, it's warming to the soul.
And it's called?
So the Herbal Tea Co.
So cute. I can't believe that wasn't taken.
Everyone says that. And I'm like, I know. It's a good
It was
one.
literally meant to be, bro.
Yeah, it was, we're forging the way.
And the teas really are the best teas I've ever. Usually when I do teas, I just do herbs or I'll mix my own herbs. The fact that these are all clean and clear, they're not in tea bags, it's loose leaf.
Oh, you can see every ingredient.
It's very, very, very beautiful. There's something very, very sacred. And we were sipping on the
Fresh Spring Blend, which we're going to rename that one to just our signature peppermint.
Okay, yeah, you should.
Because it's the best peppermint tea.
But there's rose in it too. And did you feel our hearts opening?
Yes.
Of course. And our nervous system settling?
Yes.
Beautiful. Abby, tell me your Instagram handle.
It's just my name, ABI AYRES. ABI AYRES.
And then the Herbal
Tea Co. Yeah.
And follow her and be inspired by her.
Thank you. This was awesome. I love you, Sadie.
I love you, Abby. Thank you for being here. And usually I end with one question, and it's, how do you come back? If you could say one couple sentences of how you can come back to the wild within you, what would you say?
I mean, I think just slowing down. Be quiet. Be quiet. Slow down. Go lay in some dirt. I'm serious. Just go be with Earth and be quiet and just start listening. Beautiful. It will come. It will come back. That's
Beautiful.
what I think.
Thank you.
Look inward and upward.
Love. I love that so much. Thank you. And thank you for listening. I love you all so much. And we'll see you when I see you. Remember the wild within you. You are never too much and always enough. I love you. I love you.